Hello and welcome back, people. You're listening to The Introverted Nerd Watches, and I am your host, Reese, and it's Throwback Thursday. So it's time for another episode of Saved by the Bell. And this week I watched Season 4, Episode 9, Fake IDs. Yes, ladies and gents, we are at fake IDs. We get rid of that douchebag Jeff. And I feel like I was a lot more angry about Jeff than I probably should have been, because that dude is not in that show that much. He peaked. He peaked in his second episode where he got Kelly, and then it was like he was barely there, and now he's out of the show. That's a good thing. I hate Jeff. I hate his hair, and I hate that guy's face. So I'm glad he's leaving. So, but before I get into it, because I got a lot to say, you should subscribe to the podcast because there's a lot going on lately, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you should get the new episode when they get released, because that's the best thing, right? You want to hear things as soon as they come out, when they're hot and fresh. So go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. While you're there, leave me a 5-star review, because that would be beautiful. You can also subscribe in Google Play and Stitcher. And I'm on Android, so I'm trying to find the perfect Android app to download my podcast. So if anybody has any recommendations, I would certainly take that, because I like Castbox, but I feel like there's something better out there. Or maybe I should just get another iPhone, and I should stop complaining about this iPhone thing. Anyway, let me move on before I devolve into a whole other iPhone thing and I cry about not having an iPhone anymore. So subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review, and let's get into this episode, because fake IDs, I think this is one of my favorite episodes. Like, low key, it's one of my favorite episodes. I kind of love this episode because there's some of everything in it. And there's some of everything that I like, and there's little things. There's not too much Screech. So Screech is in it. He's kind of annoying, but it's not so bad that I'm watching it with my arms crossed. Why doesn't somebody just beat his ass and get on? I'm not angry watching him. So that's a good thing. That's my standard for whether Screech in an episode is okay. Whether if I don't want him to get his ass beat, and I'm not just gritting my teeth and angry that I have to look at him on my television, then it's a good Screech episode. So this was pretty good. So fake IDs is all about how they get fake IDs to go to an 18 and over club. The boys do at first, and then they get the girls fake IDs. But they all want to go to this 18 and over club called The Attic. And are there 18 and over clubs? Okay. This should be no surprise to anybody, but I was not really a club going person. Now I'm way past I'm over 30. I'm past the going to a club thing. That makes me sound super old grandma-ish, but I'm just not that type of person. Clubs suck to me. That's the worst possible thing, to have an enclosed space with a ton of people. I don't dance. I'm socially awkward. It's all bad for me. But besides that, The Attic. are there 18 over clubs? Because who wants to go to a club where you can't drink? Because if it's 18 and over, you can't serve alcohol in an 18 and over club, right? Because it has to be 21 and over before you can serve alcohol, because then you would have a bunch of 18-year-olds drinking. And I can't believe it. If they do, I don't think they served alcohol in the attic, because not one of these teenagers tried to get a drink. Not one of them tried to whatever. Anyway, they have a photography class, which was also like, that stopped me in my tracks too, because like, photography class, do you have like, I felt like photography class was like a college thing. I was so hung up on like, where do they get the cameras from? Do they have to buy cameras? Does the school supply cameras? And if they do supply cameras, it's like, there are a bunch of but see, I have to keep reminding myself that these are all rich white kids, or mostly rich white kids, and Lisa and Slater, and they're rich too. So they're all rich, and they go to this like rich public school. So I guess Screech has he has like a camera, and he has like this extended lens. It's like, lenses are expensive. I just bought a couple of cameras, Canon cameras, and the lenses are so goddamn expensive. You could buy a camera for like not that expensive. It's the lenses that will just tear your ass up with expenses, because it's a whole thing. So that had me like going for a little while, like like, really, does the school supply this? But obviously the school does, and they're all trying to figure out like what their photography class project is going to be. And they're sitting in the Max, Screech, Slater, and Zack, and this girl walks in, and Zack sees her, and he's like, Zack's move to like go talk to this girl, his like move to flirt with her, is to take the camera from Screech and just immediately start taking pictures of her. Like, whose move is that? And it works. That's the crazy thing. That's so creepy to me. Like, to have some strange dude just walk up to me and is taking my picture, it's like, no, that's not hot. That's not hot at all. That's just weird. But this girl, her name's Danielle. I forgot Danielle Gordon. And she's from USC, and you know that she's from USC because she has a USC sweatshirt. She's like really into it, and Zack's looking kind of good in this episode. So he's got his whole like blonde Zack thing going on. His hair looks pretty good. He's still wearing the like light wash jeans, but you know, 90s, I guess. So I'm not going to hold that against him, but she's into it. He's like, he convinces her, not even convinces, he lies and says that he goes to USC too, and that he's a photography student. He's in photojournalism, and she's waiting to use the payphone, and this was like my favorite thing. This is the first time I've ever noticed it. So the guy on the payphone is the pizza delivery guy from the first Home Alone movie. That is who that guy is. That is like my favorite thing. And I loved it. I was like, oh shit, that's the guy. That's the pizza delivery guy that runs out when Angels with Filthy Souls comes on, when Kevin scares him. Oh, I was so happy. You don't know how happy I was when that guy turned around. I was like, oh shit, the pizza delivery guy. But he's in two of my favorite things. He's in Saved by the Bell and Home Alone. That guy is a superstar, and he should be on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's a damn shame that I don't even know his name. But Danielle is waiting to use the phone, and he's a dick because she's like, or maybe she's the dick because he's on the phone. And she's being like passive aggressive and like loudly saying that she needs to use the phone. And he just rolls his eyes and keeps talking. So I think I'm on his side pizza delivery guy, I'm on your side. Danielle's being kind of an ass. Like, you can't just walk in. But then I'm working on all of this out in my head right now, because I'm like, it's a payphone. Like, can you really be on a payphone like that? I don't remember those payphone days that well. Like, I was growing up like around the end of the payphone days. So I don't remember, like, did people really talk on payphones? Like, if you weren't a drug dealer, were you really out there talking on payphones? Like, you were sitting at home, just chilling on the payphone, talking to your friends? I don't know. Somebody tell me, because maybe I'm wrong. And he's like, but he was having like a really long conversation, but that doesn't matter, because that gave Zack the opportunity to give her his cell phone, prove that he's rich. He got that money. He got that cell phone. He's a good looking guy. Yeah, Zack is in. So Danielle needs her tire changed or something like that. And Zack takes the phone out of her hand. Like, she calls like AAA or something. And when she tells the guy that she just needs her tire changed, Zack doesn't say, hey, I can help you out. Like, tap her on the shoulder. Hey, I can help you out. He takes the phone out of her hand, like, without any words, just takes the phone out of her hand. And talks to the person on the phone and says, hey, forget it. She doesn't need your help anymore. And hangs up. No. That was just all kinds of wrong to me. It's like, no, you don't take the phone. Zack is really presumptuous. He is just, and I think it's a guy thing where they think being aggressive like that, it makes them look strong, or I mean, it really sucks that it works on Danielle, because she's like wet, just like his aggressiveness and his like taking charge is like really turns her on, because she's offering to kiss him and shit like that. But that's not like, who does that? Was that an 80s thing? Did guys think in the 80s and like early 90s that it was a thing that women just wanted them to like take control of everything? I don't get it. You straights are weird. Straight people are just, I can't with you. I can't with you. So he goes to change her tire, and they set up a date to meet at the attic. And they have this whole like flirty thing where they talk about how she's going to pay him back, and they talk about kissing, and it's another thing where it's like, this is how they think a college girl acts, like a college girl in the 90s acts. So she's like super into all of Zack's like pushy behavior, and she wants to kiss him right away. She tells him, he's so sweet that she could kiss him. And she doesn't say it like, it's not a cute thing. It's a really like super sexual, like, I could kiss you means like we could fuck, right? That's how I took it. Maybe that's just my dirty mind, but that's how I took it. So, there's no in between of how are we going to do this, because when Zack tells Slater that he told Danielle that he was going to meet her at the attic, there was no like, let's think about how we can do this. It was immediately like, yo, Screech, make us these fake IDs. And while it was really crazy, I really appreciated that we were just getting straight to the point, because I didn't want to see them sit around and think about how they were going to get to into the attic. It was just like, you know what, Screech, you don't have anything else to do. Just make these fake IDs for us. We go into the attic and that's it. And if you want to continue to be our friend, you'll do it. So they set up a whole thing where they have a sleepover. Like they set up a sleepover at Zack's house. And we meet Zack's mom for the first time. we don't know. I don't know what her first name is, but she's Mrs. Morris. And I gotta say, Mrs. Morris kind of cute. She's got her she's got her curly bob. I guess that's what it's called. It's like a big curly bob thingy going on. And she's wearing her tights. She's got on the mom sweater, but kind of cute lady. I appreciated her. But she knows her son, and I appreciate that. I appreciate when people act like they know that Zack ain't shit. Like, she knows her son. She knows her son ain't shit. And she does the proper things to be like, okay, I can't always be one step ahead of Zack, but I always got to have my eye on this dude because I know that he always got something going on. And that's what Mama Morris does. She goes to Zack's room, and it's really like childish. She brings like milk and cookies before they go to bed. I'm like, what? Like, who does that? They're 16-year-old boys. The fact that she, like, I appreciated what she did. She checks the room for girls, but it's like the fact that you're not a little more suspicious that these 16-year-old boys are having a sleepover when they probably never do that is, I appreciate you, Mama Morris, but you got to do better. Your son is Zack Morris. So anyway, she brings the milk and cookies, and they do this weird thing where Slater calls Zack's mom. Like, he refers to her as mom. And it's like, I know people like in real life that do that. Like, my uncle's friends used to call my grandma, like, used to refer to my grandma as mom. But that's weird to me. Like, I don't even call my own mom. And that's a whole thing. That's a whole other story. But I don't refer to my own mother as mom. I'm not calling anybody else's mom like mom. It's just it's weird and it's bizarre to me. Especially since I don't think of Zack and Slater and Screech of being that close to each other's parents. Like, they're close, like they're a friend group, but I don't think of the parents as being that close to the other kids. Like, they know the other kids, somebody might have gotten a ride from somebody else's mom, like, every once in a while, but I don't picture it being this thing where it's like we're close, like family close, where I refer to somebody else's, like, no. I didn't like it. And it's really weirder with Slater because Slater hasn't even been there that long. Slater's only been in that school. He's only known them for a few years, maybe. So the fact that Slater is calling Mama Morris mom, and I know that I'm calling her Mama Morris, and it's weird for me to be complaining about it. But I'm calling her Mama Morris because I don't know her first name. Because me and Mama Morris will be on a first name basis. Because I'm an intelligent person. I'm not a weirdo that's calling other people's moms mom, like Slater. I had a real problem with that. It was bizarre to me, and I could almost not move on with it. I almost called my uncle to ask him why. I almost called him to ask him if he called any of his friends' moms mom. Because that would have really, like, set me off. I would almost call my uncle to ask that, but he's not speaking to me right now. And that's a whole other thing that's going on. So they sneak out. They have their clothes on under their like sweatsuits or whatever, and they sneak out to the attic, and some woman that looks like a reject from Desperately Seeking Susan, like one of the club people from that movie, she immediately gloms onto Screech, and Screech is wearing this terrible, like, mustache, like fake mustache, and she is really into Screech, and she looks 40. Like, she looks way too old to be in an 18 and over club, because in my head, like, an 18 and over club is not like a regular club. Like, an 18 and over club, I imagine like people only between the ages of 18 and 20 would go there, because if you're a person that's old, that's like 21, why would you go to an 18 and under an 18 and over club where you can't drink, or you probably can't drink, instead of going to a regular club where you could probably get all the alcohol you want? And adult women, like, so Slater and Zack are the worst. So Zack is actually standing there waiting for his date, waiting for a girl to come see him. He's waiting to meet a girl. Slater has a girlfriend, and these two motherfuckers are standing at the door when women walk in. They're like leaning on the bar by the door, so that when women come in, they can basically street harass them, because they're standing at the door, and they go like simultaneously they go, "Hey babe," when women walk past. And it's like, what? Like, what is this? And then the women happen to be into it. And it was freaking me out, because the women are into it and they're doing it. They're like one step away from being like a Looney Tunes cartoon where their eyes bulge out of their head when a pretty woman walks past. It is so crazy. And it's like, how are you standing there waiting to meet a girl and like harassing these other women as they walk in? I hated it. And I love this episode, but I hated it. So Danielle comes in, and she comes in with two of her friends. And one thing that is like crazy to me is that the girls are supposed to be wearing these bodycon like dresses, but they're kind of loose. And it was weird, because I'm like, okay, so the dresses are loose because these are just like, not women that are part of the like main cast, so they're not going to get clothes that really fit. So my headcanon was like, okay, this is a dress we had for like Lisa or whoever, and this girl can wear it in this episode, but it's not going to fit right. So we got the skinny girl who is wearing a dress that's like one or two sizes too big, and it just looks really weird, because Jessie later in the episode is wearing what's supposed to be a tight mini dress, and it's actually a tight mini dress. But these are the things I noticed. So Danielle comes in with her two friends, and she kisses Zack, and it's a whole thing. But the two girls that she comes in with, Slater is like super flirty. He introduces himself as AC Slater, and the girl's like, "Oh, what does AC stand for?" And he's like, "Absolutely charmed." And it's not charming at all. It's just really weird, because when you say absolutely charmed, it's like charmed is in that tense is like you're the one that's charmed. So you're absolutely charmed by yourself. So I felt like he should have said absolutely charming. And that would have, it would have made it better, but it would have been like the right tense. It would have been better grammar to say absolutely charming. And when she like got a little like flirty giggle, it would have made more sense to me, but whatever, that chick was like really into it. And Slater ends up spending the whole night talking about Jessie, which makes it even weirder that he was so like street harassy at the door and flirty with these other girls, because he was only into talking about Jessie the whole night. He was like showing pictures of her and everything. It was like, really, would Slater have been, is Slater that guy? Like, it's two different people at that point. The guy that's standing at the door with Zack, being a Looney Tune, and the guy that's sitting at the table being kind of weird, with kindergarten pictures of his girlfriend and his wallet. So whatever. Slater scares the girls off. and they leave, and they end up seeing Jeff the jerk. They end up seeing him there with some blonde chick. We never find out her name. I don't even remember what her face looks like. I don't even know if we see her face. I think both times we see her, we see the back of her head only, and we know that she's a blonde chick. So they see her and they're like shocked. When I don't know why they're shocked, because Jeff is a grown-ass man and Kelly's a high school girl that can't go out past 10 o'clock. So whatever. They go back to school the next day and they're all tired and everything. And by the way, Mr. Belding is the photography teacher. Since when does Mr. Belding know anything about photography? But whatever. I'm not going to complain about Mr. Belding in this episode. He was pretty, he wasn't that offensive to me. I mean, he was an okay teacher. Well, no, he wasn't. I got something later. So Kelly's project is titled Portraits of My Guy. And it's headshots of that actor. And I keep forgetting that guy's name. I hate him so much. I keep forgetting the actor's name. What is his name? It's not Casper Van Dien. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't know his name. Jeff, Saved by the Bell. What's his name? I know I said his name on the last episode. Patrick Muldoon. So it's just headshots of Patrick Muldoon. It's Kelly's project. And I can't believe that Mr. Belding even allowed that. So after Kelly walks away, Mr. Belding looks at her project and is like, he allows her to take pictures of her boyfriend for her project. And then he starts like trying to gossip with Lisa. And he's like, ooh, is that the guy that Kelly dumped Zack for? And Lisa put him in his place. And she's like, dude, you're late. They're over that. Stop it. You're an old man. You shouldn't be worried about your students' dating lives. So the guys are so tired. They keep falling asleep in class. They fall asleep in the hallway. And once the girls come in, they're like, okay, what the hell is going on? Specifically, Jesse is like, what is going on, Slater? And he tells her, and Screech lets it slip that they went to the attic, and Jesse's all up in arms. She's like, oh no, she's too cool to break the rules. And she's like, no, there's an 18 over club. How could you possibly get in? And my girl Lisa is like, fuck all that. How do I get in there with you? So they get Screech to make them fake IDs too. And what they all decide, what Lisa, Jesse, and Slater decide is that Zack needs to be the one that tells Kelly that Jeff cheated on her. And it's like, okay, what bizarre universe are we living in that Zack, her ex-boyfriend, has to be the one that tells her that her current boyfriend is cheating on her when her two best friends know too, and they're not. It's so crazy to me. I don't even know why this is a thing. They immediately, this happens immediately. After they see him, after the boys see him at the club, Slater is the first one that says, hey, Zack, did you tell her? And he's like, nah, dude, I didn't tell her. And he's like, and Slater's like shocked, or I don't know why he's just like, he thinks Zack should do it right away. And Lisa and Jesse really shocked me, because they're immediately like, Zack, you have to be the one that tells her. She'll thank you for it, is what Jesse says. I'm like, in what universe is Kelly going to thank him? Like, she dumped him to be with Jeff. Who is they're ridiculous. I don't even know, like, what is this? Like, I know people that, like, I would seriously think about whether I should tell a friend if I saw their boyfriend or girlfriend cheating on them. Like, I would seriously, like, that would be something I would think long and hard about, because I feel like you have to be prepared to lose a friend if you go to and tell your friend that you saw their significant other with somebody else, because I feel like they almost always would choose their significant other. Like, you have to be really sure of your relationship in order to tell somebody that you know they're being cheated on. And I don't know. This some crazy Bayside shit. This is like Baysiness. I don't even know. Where did I hear that before? I feel like I listened to another podcast and they called something crazy and Baysy. They portmanteaued it into Baysiness. And they weren't talking about Bayside though, but I feel like it works here too. It's like Baysiness. Like, crazy Bayside shit is Baysiness. So Zack takes the awful advice of his friends, and he goes to, well, I don't know why he goes to her job, but he goes to the Max to tell Kelly, and Kelly has a whole moment. She puts Zack on blast, like, in the middle of the Max. She is yelling at him. She's like, I don't want to hear it. Jeff is a great guy, is actually what she says. Jeff is a great guy. He would never cheat on me. You're just jealous. And it's like, okay, girl, take it down a notch. Okay, first of all, Zack shouldn't have told her at her job. He should have gone to her house to tell her. But secondly, it's like, girl, you're at work. Take it down a notch or two. Have a seat. Like, you barely know Jeff. And I want to get mad at Kelly, but then I keep remembering she's 16 years old. Jeff is an older guy and he's supposedly good looking. So I gotta cut her a little bit of slack, but she was really out of control. I would have been like, you know what, fuck you. I mean, if I was in Zack's situation, and you know how I hate to be on Zack's side, but I'm like, fuck you, Kelly. Like, why? I'm not trying to get back with you. I got a whole other college girl that I'm lying to, like, trying to get with her. I'm not trying to get with you anymore. I'm just trying to be nice. But if you want to, look stupid with this dude over here, like, whatever. That's what I would have been if I was in Zack's situation. But in this rare instance, Zack is a better person than even me. And he just walks out and he's like, you know what, Kelly, whatever. And he walks out. So Zack is at home and he's getting phone calls from what's her name, Danielle, on his giant cell phone. And Danielle is like suspicious, I guess, that she's not seen Zack on campus. Now, I've never been to USC. So I don't know how big that campus actually is, but I'm guessing that it's a pretty big school. It's a public school, a public college in California. I'm guessing that it's pretty big. So the fact that she's suspicious that she hasn't seen him on campus is like, what? Like, I went to college with people that I knew there were people that were in my college that I went to high school with that I never saw until I came home and somebody was like, oh, we go to the same school. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you never see people. Like, if you go to a big enough college, you would never see people. And depending on what their schedule is, it was weird. I was like, girl, you're in college. Like, stop it, Danielle. Don't be clingy. Like, you're better than this. And Zach totally had to type. I was like, okay, this is the type of girl that Zach likes. And it was a whole thing. So I watched this episode like right after I watched some of the royal wedding. And I was like, okay, so Zach is Prince Harry. He's a worse version of Prince Harry because I actually kind of like Prince Harry. Like Zach's a piece of shit and I like Prince Harry. But Zach is Prince Harry because he's like, all of their exes or all of the girls they were interested in all look almost the same until they get to one person who happens to also be a woman of color. In Zach's case, it was Lisa. In Prince Harry's case, it was my goddess, Meghan Markle, who I'm in love with. And so like if you see Prince Harry's girlfriends, like all of his exes, and they were all at the wedding. So they all are these blonde chicks that are like not that hot, low key, not that hot. And then, the hot chick, Meghan Markle. Like Zach has better taste, but not that much better because like he likes these white women with dark hair. And then you get to Lisa, who's my other goddess, who I love like more than anything. And so that was just something I was thinking about. I don't know. It was just a whole thing. And so Danielle is another dark hair chick whose hair, Zach changed it up a little bit because he has dark hair, but she has cut it in a short style. But they agreed to meet up at the Max again. Not the Max. At the Attic again because that's just like the hottest club. It was like they didn't do a good job with that club. It was this it was like people were barely dancing. It was bad music, but whatever. Danielle and Zach are into it. So Zach, okay, I got a legitimate laugh out of this. So Zach's mom comes into his room and she's singing some song, and she tells Zach that her favorite band, she tells Zach Peter, Paul, and Mary are in town. And Zach's like, oh, are those Uncle Dave's kids? And I didn't tell that joke well, but I legitimately laughed when she's like, Peter, Paul, and Mary are in town. And Zach is like, Zach doesn't know who that is. And he's like, are they relatives? So, and I didn't really know who Peter, Paul, and Mary were. So I had to look that up. I knew they were a band, but I had to look them up, and they're like this folk band. And she says they were her favorite band from back in the day. And I'm like, really? Like Peter, Paul, and Mary were your favorite band? Like I looked them up. They sing, what is it? Puff the Magic Dragon. Like was Zach's mom like a weed head? That's the only way you had to like that song, because I listened to Puff the Magic Dragon, and that's not a great song. I didn't like it. So I feel like Zach's mom was the first one into like the medical marijuana game. She got it started back then, and that's why she got Peter, Paul, and Mary on the mind. So Jesse and Lisa, they want to go to the club with them to get evidence that Jeff is cheating on Kelly. So they, while all that was happening, Kelly happens to walk in on Screech making the other fake IDs. And she talks to Screech about Jeff, about what Zach told her. And Screech, she believes Screech when Screech tells her that he also saw Jeff cheating on her. And Kelly wants a fake ID so she can go catch Jeff in the act 2. So everybody is just out to catch Jeff. And Zach is out to catch Danielle because, okay, how long does Zach think he can do this? She's in college. He's in high school. Does he think he can keep sneaking out of school? Like, what's his end game for this? How long does he think he can do this with Danielle before she's like, oh, wait a minute. where's your dorm? Like, can I come to your dorm room? Can we do anything besides meet at the attic every night? So, especially since we go to the same school. So, Zach, they come up with a plan. Zach tells his mom that he's going to spend the night at Slater's house. And I'm like, be more suspicious. Like, first the boys have a sleepover at your house. And then they want to have another sleepover the next week. Come on, Mama Morris. Like, you got to do better. You got to do so much better. You know your son. That's all I got to say about it. You know your son. So they all go to the club, and Zach is in the club waiting for Danielle. And while he's waiting, back at his house, he gets a phone call because his mom comes back from how early does she get back from her concert? Because she comes back, she's singing Puff the Magic Dragon, she's putting a Peter, Paul and Mary poster on Zach's bed, like, for him, like, as a souvenir from the concert. And that's straight trash. Like, I would like rocket that back in her face. You don't like he doesn't even know who Peter, Paul and Mary is. Why are you giving him a poster? That's just like, that's a crappy gift, Mrs. Morris. Like, oh girl, Zach don't want that. That poster is going to be straight trash. By the next morning, Zach is not going to keep that thing. So, while she's in his room, his cell phone starts ringing, and she answers it, and Danielle is on the phone, and she takes all the information from Danielle, and she gets, the attic is the over 18 club and all that, blah, blah, blah. Zach's in trouble. But what I gotta say about this is that we need to all be thanking Zach Morris, because he suffered so that we could all flourish. Because Zach suffered with the giant cell phone, the giant brick cell phone, that you can't carry around with you, really. Like, you cannot carry that phone around with you. There's almost no point in having a cell phone if it's that big, because you cannot take that thing anywhere with you, which is why Zach forgot it at his house. Like, when I was first watching the episode, I was like, why did Zach forget his phone? Like, you would want to keep that with you, but like, where the hell would you put it? It's not like you can keep it on your body. It's not like, you can't just put that thing in your pocket. That thing is giant. It's a fucking satellite dish in your pocket. So Zach suffered through that cell phone so that we could all carry our cell phones around in our pocket. So every time you look at your tiny cell phone that fits in all of your pockets, you cross yourself, say a prayer to your Lord and Savior, Zach Morris, the patron saint of cell phones. So that's all I got to say about it. So, Mrs. Morris, Kelly shows up at the club, and they're all trying to hide the fact that Jeff is there. Like, Jeff goes back to the same club with this girl. Oh, I forgot to say that earlier in that, like a little bit earlier, before Kelly talks to Screech about Jeff cheating, she talks to Jeff, and she's suspicious. Like, she kind of believes what Zach told her. So she talks to Jeff, and she asks Jeff, like, what are they doing on their date night on Saturday? And Jeff is super suspicious. He's like stuttering. He can't get a full sentence out. And he tells Kelly, like, he can't go out on, like, something about how they can't go out, and her curfew is at 10 o'clock, so they really can't go out. And she tells him that, she tells him that she can get an extension on her curfew. But Jeff is like, nah, girl. No. We can go out on another night. And it's like, really, Jeff? Like, it's Kelly and Kapowski. I don't know why I think her name is Anne, but her middle name is Anne, but that's what came to mind. Kellyanne Kapowski, you deserve better than this. He's not that good looking, and he's a bad liar. Like, even you can see through it. So he's a terrible liar. So Kelly's at the club. She sees Jeff with the blonde chick, and she confronts him. And Jeff tells her, she says, Jeff, why? I dumped a really great guy to be with you. Like, how could you do this? How could you do this to me? And Jeff says with a straight face, Kelly, I'm not really ready for a steady relationship. That's it. That's the only explanation. I'm not really ready for a steady relationship. And she calls him a jerk and she says goodbye. And it's like, really, goodbye? He's still your boss, girl. You got to go back to work the next day with that motherfucker. Like, what are you going to do unless you quit your job? But you can't because your family depends on your tips. So you in all types of trouble, Kelly. You made a mistake. So Mama Morris shows up at the club and she's like, Zach's in trouble and, you know, the boys are caught. And then Danielle shows up after Mama Morris and Zach sees her and he's like begging his mom if he can have, you know, another chance. Like, can she just leave him there? You know, he'll do whatever for the rest of his life if she'll just leave. But she won't do it. And he's right in front of Danielle when he says this. Like, he calls her mom like a foot away. Like, not even a foot. Like, Danielle is like right up on him when he calls her mom. But she ends up like, Zach turns back around to her, like, after he speaks to his mom. He turns back around to Danielle, and Danielle's like, hey, is this your mom? It's like, can you hear, girl? It's like, you couldn't hear him call her mom from your, 5 inches away from him, but you couldn't hear her call him mom. But okay, Danielle, whatever. But Zach's like, no, she's my, really young looking older sister. And Danielle does the creepiest thing ever. She pushes up on Zach, like half hugs him and looks like she's about to go in for a kiss. And she's like, well, your brother is hot. Where do they do that at? Like, where do they do that? I have a brother. I have never had any girl, like, met any of my brother's girlfriends or I've never met any girl, like, come up to me, like, hugging up on my brother and it's like, oh, your brother's hot. I would have been like, no, you don't do that. That's nasty. This is not Game of Thrones. Like, no, you don't. Like, no. What is this, Danielle? Ew. I was just so grossed out. I was like, ew, who does that? But Danielle, Mrs. Morris is having none of it. Zach has to leave Danielle, and Danielle will never be seen again, because she won't be. She wasn't that good anyway. So they end up leaving the club, and Mrs. Morris, they have another situation where they all call her mom, like Zack, Slater, and Screech call her mom again, and it's like all this weirdness, like, back to back. Just ugh. But I did love this episode, and that is the end of the episode. Jeff will never be seen. I don't think Jeff will ever be seen again. Maybe Max will come back. I would be, like, really cheered up if Max came back with a magic trick and just righted the world for me. But whatever, he probably won't. But at least Jeff is gone. That was, like, my main, like, thing about this. Jeff is gone. He is out of here. That is the end of Jeffrey USC, because I forget his last name. So that's the end of the episode, you guys. Coming up on the show, what's coming up? Okay, so next week on the Saved by the Bell episode is I'm going to do season 4, episode 11, Pipe Dreams. And then after that is going to be straight run of all of the Malibu Sands Beach Club episodes. So that should be fun. And that should be a lot of fun because it's like the summertime. And so all of the Malibu Sands episodes take place over the summer. So I don't know if it's technically summer. I think summer officially starts like sometime, what is it? June 20th or something like that? Whatever. It doesn't matter. So if you subscribe to the podcast, you would know that I did a Cloak and Dagger, like comic book primer about the history of Cloak and Dagger in the comic books, just like a tiny little history of what they did in the comic books, the characters, their powers, and what we can expect to see on the show, or what I hope to see on the show. So that episode came out on Tuesday. So you should go back and listen to that because Cloak and Dagger starts on June 6th and I will be live tweeting that. So you should follow me on Twitter at NerdTrovertPod. That's NERD Trovert. I'm not going to spell the whole thing, but NERD Trovert Pod. And I could have spelled the whole thing. I'm so lazy. So that's Nerd Pod. Follow me there. I'll be live tweeting Cloak and Dagger. Fear the Walking Dead comes back on Sunday, so I'll be live tweeting that too. And use the hashtag NerdyWatch so we can live tweet together and we can chat with each other. You can follow me on Instagram at TheIntrovertedNerd and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd. And that is it until next Tuesday. Yeah, that's my last episode this week. Oh, kind of sad, but whatever. It was fun. So that's it, everybody. Bye.